The hit series Peaky Blinders has wowed audiences since 2013 and is one of the highest rated shows on television. The series tells the story of a gangster family and is set in England during the early 1900s. It centers on a gang who sew razor blades in the peaks of their caps and their fierce boss, Tommy Shelby, played by actor Cillian Murphy. Stay tuned and don't go away because today we're revealing the darkest scenes from Peaky Blinders. First up, what did it take in the early 1990s for a crime family to rise to power? Let's take a look. The answer is pretty simple. It took violence. A lot of violence. Throughout this series, protagonist Thomas Shelby, or Tommy for short, plots and schemes in order to ensure that his family's business and gang, the Peaky Blinders, rise to the top. Shelby's right-hand man is his fierce brother Arthur Shelby, played by actor Paul Anderson. As his family rises through the ranks of the criminal underworld, Tommy is forced to deal with a slew of rival gangsters that are hell-bent on getting in the way of his family's progress. Some of these rival gangsters have been played by some of the most famous actors in the world and include names like Tom Hardy, Oscar winner Adrien Brody, and Sam Claflin, the actor from the Hunger Games franchise. One of the darkest scenes in this series took place between Tommy Shelby and his nemesis Alfie Solomons, played by Hardy. Tommy also had a tense working relationship with Alfie, a ruthless Jewish gangster. But in season 4, Tommy learns that Alfie betrayed him and fled to Bargate. This culminates in an epic showdown of sorts on Margate Beach, and Alfie reveals that he's dying of cancer and wants Tommy to end his suffering. But Tommy refuses, so Alfie shoots him in the side to provoke him, and it works. Tommy shoots Alfie in the face, he falls to the ground and is presumed dead. Next up, what happens when a psycho takes over a nightclub? You're about to find out. One of the darkest scenes in Peaky Blinders is when Arthur takes over the Eden Club. Arthur has always been known as the biggest loose cannon out of the Shelby brothers and routinely engages in brutal violence to either get what he wants or crush those who get in his way. In season 2, Tommy puts Arthur's skill set to use and puts him in charge of taking over the Eden Club, owned by one of the Shelby family's biggest rivals, Darby Sabini. When Arthur violently takes over the club, he shouts the now infamous line, "This place is under new management," by order of the Peaky Blinders. Another dark moment from the series is when John Shelby is gunned down alongside Tommy and Arthur. John, played by actor Joe Cole, was the other leading Shelby brother in the show till the 4th season when he was killed. In the opening episode, John lives at home with his fiery bride, Esme, played by actor Amy Fionin Edwards. Like other members of the Shelby family, they come under attack from the forces of the Italian mafia boss Luca Cingretta, played by Adrien Brody. When they came for him, John did his best to defend his home from the attackers, but was ultimately pumped full of bullets, even though his cousin, Michael Gray, played by actor Finn Cole, did everything he possibly could to rescue him and Esme. When John dies, Esme blames the Shelby family for her husband's demise. Up next, what are some of the darkest scenes from season 5 of Peaky Blinders? Let's find out. One of the darkest scenes in season 5 is without a doubt the execution of Bonnie Gold, played by actor Jack Rowan, who's killed by members of the Billy Boys crew. The son of Aberman Gold, played by actor Aidan Gillen, becomes a victim of the Scottish gang known as the Billy Boys. The Billy Boys were striking out at the Golds as part of a vengeful attack against the Shelbys. To make matters worse, Bonnie was brutally executed in front of her own father, Aberama, who was forced to watch as Bonnie was beaten and strung up against a tree before being shot dead. Bonnie's death led Aberama on a quest for vengeance against the gang and their associate, Sir Oswald Mosley. And this leads us to our next brutal scene, the botched revenge plot against Sir Mosley. At the end of season 5, Tommy Shelby makes his big operation against Sir Oswald Mosley, a fascist politician. Tommy used the skills of a mentally disturbed yet kind war veteran sniper named Barney Thompson, played by Cosmo Jarvis, to do the hit on Sir Mosley, while Aberama planned to murder the leader of the Billy Boys, Jimmy McCavern, played by actor Brian Gleason, to avenge his son's death. Unfortunately, the plot was foiled, and McCavern's men stabbed Aberman to death and shot Barney. The failure of the plot to defeat Sir Mosley even caused Tommy to contemplate suicide. Stay tuned, don't go away, because we're bringing you more of the darkest scenes from this brutal and riveting series. Next up, what's one way to get your point across in a world filled with competing gangsters? A car bomb, of course. In season 5, a man who gets too close to Ada Shelby, played by Sophie Rundle, ends up being blown to bits. Colonel Ben Younger, played by Kingsley Ben Adir, helps Tommy in the fight against Sir Mosley's fascism while developing a romantic relationship with Ada, a single mother. Unfortunately, Ben is killed in a shocking car bombing by Sir Mosley and his cohorts. Sadly, Ada had already lost her husband and the father of her children, Freddie Thorne, in the early episodes. Another dark moment in the series is when Grace Shelby dies in Tommy's arms. Tommy Shelby fell in love with the Irish beauty Grace Burgess, played by Annabelle Wallace, who soon chooses him over her duties as an undercover agent. After going into hiding and starting a new life with a husband, Grace and Tommy were reunited. Ada, she had his son, Charles. The pair married at the start of season 3 after her husband killed himself. Sadly, Tommy and Grace's happy marriage came to a brutal end when she was gunned down by an Italian assassin, the orders of the mafia, while she and Tommy were at a party together. Grace dies in Tommy's arms. Up next, what happens to crooked cops in Peaky Blinders? You're about to find out. Out of all the brutal moments in Peaky Blinders, for many fans, this was the most satisfying. Inspector Chester Campbell, played by famed actor Sam Neill, was a thorn in the Shelby family's sides for the first 2 seasons, and even sexually abused Aunt Polly Gray, played by the late Helen McCrory. However, she got her revenge at the end of season 2 by stabbing him at the horse races. As she killed him, Aunt Polly said, "Don't F with the Peaky Blinders." Now, everyone's waiting for season 6 and hopes it'll be just as good as all the others. Peaky Blinders is a type of show that's constantly shocking audiences with crazy, unforeseen twists and leaves everyone in shock. Thomas and Alfie's grenade conversation is another dark and crazy moment in the series, and it happens when the walls are closing in on Thomas Shelby and his family. Tommy walks into Alfie's office and tells him that he and James have a grenade tripped wired to a barrel of rum. If anyone other than Thomas walks out of the office, James is going to blow it up. Alfie can't tell if Thomas is bluffing or not, and after some tense negotiations, Thomas agrees to give 35% of his business to Alfie, but not the 100% Alfie wanted. Many have said that this scene is a masterclass in acting by Tom Hardy and Cillian Murphy. And of course, we have to agree. Finally, what are the series' darkest scenes in Close Calls? Let's take a look. In an intense season 4 finale, Luca Cingretta comes face to face with Thomas and his family. Tommy was to hand over all his assets to Luca. After some talking between them, Luca threatens to kill Tommy, but Arthur makes a return from the dead and shoots Luca dead. The show made it seem as though Arthur was killed during a boxing match by Luca with help from Alfie. Another dark and shocking scene is when Alfie returns from the dead. After Thomas learns of Alfie's involvement with Luca, he wants to finish him off for good, but it's later revealed that he was shot in the face and miraculously survived. Fans were relieved to see one of their favorite characters make a comeback. One of the biggest close calls for fans is Thomas's escape from Campbell's men. Campbell hires 3 men to murder Thomas, and when he's kidnapped by the men, he's taken to a barren land where he seemingly accepts his fate and casually dangles a cigarette from his mouth. Out of nowhere, one of the assassins kills the other 2 and leaves Thomas and the fans shocked and confused, but happy. The shooter tells Tommy, "In the near future, Mr. Churchill will like to meet you in person, Thomas. He has a job for you." We can't wait for season 6. It's going to be mind-blowing. And who knows what twists and turns we can expect from this crazy, crazy gangster series. That's a wrap for today's video. Thanks for watching until the end.